Good evening, everyone. This is day 1059 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. I just want to wish everybody out there a happy Father's Day. We couldn't have gotten here without you. We couldn't have done it without you. And I'm just to all those good fathers. And I'm really missing. This is the thinking about my dad. Rest in peace. First Father's Day. Um, yeah, since he passed away. So, and I had a good one, y'all. I had a good one. I've had wonderful men in my life. I've never, yeah, I've had just awesome men in my life. So, praise God. Praise God. Because I've seen some horrible things during this search for Richard. Horrible things. And the grooming of our young people, and men just up to no good. But we don't want to talk about them. We want to celebrate all of those fathers that took their position as father very seriously. So, happy Father's Day to my wonderful husband. We spent the whole day celebrating. It's been awesome. um, just making sure that everyone can see. Thank you so much for the comments. Are awesome. We had such a great day. I haven't really looked at this, so make sure I'm on. There we are. Okay, so we're ready to go. All right, everyone, happy Father's Day. And I am coming on a bit early today because it is Father's Day. And I have a lot to talk about Richard, about what happened at the beginning when he disappeared in 2020. And I have to take this opportunity to really answer any questions that have been sent to me, and also so you can send messages, a text message to 941-677-0060. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. And I thank all those who have sent me questions, because we are the lead. We've been made the lead investigators in the disappearance of our son. And people's questions, people's comments, even anything in retaliation has helped, because it makes us go back, look at everything, reevaluate, and we find things while we do that. So, and of course, all this time we have been documenting. That's why at the beginning of this, when we were made the prime investigators of Richard's case, I said, okay, I'm going to write a book, because we have to document. And things have changed so much. And one of the things that changed this week was, well, I think the whole strategy of Richard's case, Team Find Richard Halliday, has changed this week. Like it did a few weeks ago when we when we entered in the big leagues. And I talked about that. I haven't talked about that enough. But I want everyone to understand we are in the big leagues, okay? We're in the big leagues. And that's why you'll see some responses that are not so kind to us, because in the big leagues, the world, the lesson for today, and I have it right here that we had in church on Trinity 2. We are in Trinity 2. But the lesson was that the world hates us. Okay? That the world hates us. As Christians, the world hates us. We can be really nice. We can do everything right. We can be whistleblowers to save children from child sex trafficking, from being um, sexually assaulted in little Lonnie's bedroom, master bedroom. We could try to stop that. We could try to report that. We don't have to report it because she reported it. She reported that in her CID confession that she had notarized, and that we can try to um, uh, say, look, it's not right when you're an active duty soldier and you're in the middle of incest, right? You're clouded. Your whole thinking is clouded, especially if you're living in a home that is plagued with child pornography, which is illegal. How can you be entrusted to do your duty in uniform, right? With all the privileges and be a leader over our volunteer sons and daughters when you're engaged in incest in your home with child pornography and a 7-year-old is being sexually assaulted by multiple members of the household in Leilani Hart's master bedroom? How does that happen, right? Um, we can we can we can report those things, that those things have been reported and confessed to. We can report that we have a FBI man named Nadal Bayim, who's a father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado, and Bradford Bugado is a lieutenant colonel that Nadal Bayim told us. He heard it from, there's two sources here. First, he said he was with the FBI, so he's FBI man. So FBI man says the FBI was looking for Richard's remains there in Juarez, Mexico, and found him. He's dead. His remains were found. We called the State Department there in Juarez, Mexico, and they confirmed that the FBI was looking for Richard's remains in Juarez, Mexico. And then there is another source, and that is Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3. This is the heartbeat. These are the wedding planners. These are the operations. This is where everything is put together. This is the, nothing happens in the military without operations, without an op ord, okay? Without orders. This is where the orders happen. This is the heartbeat of 32nd ADCOM. This is Richard's command. And Lieutenant Colonel Bugado, who has a top secret clearance, works in there, okay? Works in the G3. And his father-in-law is saying that Richard's remains were found in Juarez. He's with the FBI. He tells us, Lieutenant Colonel told him. So I guess that's a double. And then we have a triple that we talked to the special agent in Juarez, Mexico at the State Department that said, yes, the FBI were looking for Richard's remains in Juarez, Mexico. So, we can say all this. We can say that nothing happened when Richard went missing. Okay, nothing happened. The protocols were not followed. And it was so bad that Captain Yoshida on day 36, when my husband called him to say, what is going on? We haven't heard from our son. That he was upset, that he was breaking. His emotional state was breaking. My husband mouthed to me, it looks like he's crying. He's crying. It sounds like he's crying. Okay? And so he was upset. I could barely hear him because I was sitting next to my husband. And my husband was like, he's really upset. Something happened with Richard. Richard is a deserter. They're telling us Richard is a deserter. This is day 36. This is the 28th of August, 2020. And then they decide to do something. The CID, because that was a Friday. So on a few days later, um, they put in information to have Richard as a yellow Interpol. Okay, we're going to find out everything that they did on that time in that time period, because we finally find out we're upset, and they're like, oh my gosh, maybe we need to do something. Okay, and they put in a yellow Interpol. Yellow Interpol means Richard is missing. Okay, he's not a danger to anybody. He's not armed and dangerous. Matter of fact, we're getting information that it was died while missing. Died while missing. That was weird. And yet no response. No response from the military if that's true. Was Richard designated died while missing for this yellow Interpol? I think that's very important information, because during that exact time, the CID also used their connections to send a fugitive apprehension assault team. So the fugitive apprehension unit assault team to our home, where before we even knew that they were there, coordinated with each other, that one would walk to the backyard, to our lanai area of our home, and the other one would come to the front door. Okay. An assault team from the Fugitive Apprehension Unit does not come to someone's house without warrants. Okay? They don't do that. They're an assault team. They're an assault unit. They are the Fugitive Apprehension Unit. They're in full battle gear. And we can tell people that this happened, because it did. Just like FBI man. So it's really hard for people to wrap their head around that they would send with a yellow Interpol. And why is this important? Because in order to send such a unit to our home, you have to have a warrant. In order to get a warrant, you have to have a judge's signature. And in order to get a judge's signature, you have to have a probable cause. That probable cause means that Richard is a fugitive, that Richard is a deserter, that Richard is a threat to society, threat to our neighborhood, threat to Sarasota, threat to the family, that he's armed and dangerous. And none of that applied. And when they came to our house and we talked to them, they absolutely did not act accordingly to that Richard was a threat. Okay? That Richard needed to be arrested. That Richard would be even there to be arrested. It was a show. It was a show of intimidation. And I don't know if they were unwilling participants or they were glad to be that intimidating force to come to our house, while the CID in the background is putting in a yellow Interpol for Richard, which is missing, not a red Interpol. Go look at those notices. The yellow Interpol, the red Interpol. There's many different colors. We are concerned with yellow Interpol and red Interpol, because if Richard was what the CID was telling us, that he was a deserter, he would be a red Interpol. But that's not what they did behind the scene. Um, it's like there is a different media, there's a different narrative behind the scene than what is going on to the family, what's given to the family. That has been very clear. And so here they come. They cannot, at this point, we didn't even think. See, we're so naive. And and we are, because we trust, because we have been limited in the information that has been given to us. Okay? I think COVID, the whole COVID scam, um, helped us understand that so much information was being withheld from us. That would help us. That would be good information. Absolutely. And so I think that gave us an epiphany to ask ourselves if they're lying to us about our own health and the dangers to our health. If they're lying about that and call themselves benevolent, which they're not, they're committing crimes against humanity, then are they lying to us about Richard behind the scenes? Right? They pull a charm school tactic in front of us, but behind the scenes, it's a whole different narrative. And so we checked into it, that yellow Interpol. I was not familiar with Interpol. I mean, I heard it in movies and stuff, but I wasn't so familiar. I wasn't, I, we're not familiar with law enforcement. We've never been in trouble with law enforcement. We've never been in cases. So this was all very new, and they take advantage of that. And then, you know, uh, the beginning of September, this is Hell Week. I called it Hell Week. I've been calling it Hell Week ever since it happened. And we were desperate. And we were just, the emotions, I can't even tell you. The emotions were absolutely heartbreaking because of all the people that we were having to call to search for Richard, to get information. And also, so many, like the El Paso Police Department, like the Sheriff's Department, the Sheriff's Department that came with the Fugitive Apprehension Unit, right? They said they couldn't help us because Richard was not in their jurisdiction. Yet, a Fugitive Apprehension Unit, an assault team came to our house. And they didn't have a warrant. Well, they can't produce a warrant. They cannot produce a warrant. We finally said, "Hey, did you have a warrant?" We put in a request. They can't produce a warrant. We wanted to know. I called when this epiphany went off. I called the deputy because we had his number at like 10 o'clock at night, and I said, "What kind of warrant did you have?" "Oh, I had an email." "What do you mean?" Um, Y'all, they cannot produce a warrant to give to us. And, so all this other um, died while missing gets stronger and stronger as a possibility, right? It gets stronger and stronger as a possibility because um, if the autopsies are fake, if the reports of Red Rio Range, Richard's partial remains being found there, if Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe went at Christmas time looking for Richard's remains at training area 244, which is the Afghanistan mock village there on Fort Bliss, if he went there and he didn't find remains, but did you know that Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe is looking for Richard's remains? This is during Christmas, right? During Christmas. If he didn't find remains there, we're being told he did. We're we've been given an autopsy number for that. Now we asked this week because our rights now this case has taken on um, a dual investigation because now we're investigating in our own civil rights being broken. So we need Richard's files for this probable cause. If he's dead, they don't have a probable cause. If he's a yellow Interpol and they've never even thought he was a danger, um, my signal is going out, y'all. My signal's going out. Okay, we'll see. But if Richard is no danger to anyone, and on the TikTok video that I put up, I thought that was very interesting too because um, one person said, look, you would just send out a couple Marines or, Army MPs to go pick him up. You wouldn't send an assault unit out, an assault team out. That was clearly, um, and I need to screenshot that. I think that is really important. You wouldn't send an assault team out to pick up Richard. No. That was so over the top. And especially 40 days after he goes missing, right? I mean, okay, so what happened? This is so bad. And if it's not so bad, then why haven't they come out with the PAO, which is the public affairs officer, to let us know that it's not so bad? Why haven't they sent us paperwork signed to let us know what happened if it's not so bad? But see, they haven't done that because it's really bad, y'all. I think it's worse than what we even think. And they've been covering it up, and they would go to the extent of the ridiculous to send the assault team out to our home without a warrant, without probable cause, without a warrant, without cause. Yet, we've been told that at, let's see, January 2022, there were 15 warrants in Richard's case. So if they weren't for a search warrant for our home, if they weren't for an arrest warrant for Richard, what were those 15? So if there was no probable cause, if there was no reason to be there, and if that's overreach, and Richard was dead, then they really, really, really violated our rights. And we cooperated with them fully. We didn't stand in. But it doesn't change what happened and that it wasn't right. And they violated our rights, our civil rights, and took advantage of a family in need, of a family that they are sworn to serve. They're sworn to serve. And that they would do this. There's something wrong in our society that allows this kind of culture, this brown shirt kind of culture. It really is. To just go and feel like you can do that to a family when they're vulnerable. And we were very vulnerable at that time. We couldn't get any help. Richard was not on the books at all. He was not on the rolls, y'all. They kicked him off. They told us he was a deserter, that he was a fugitive. So if he was that, then why was he a yellow Interpol and not a red Interpol? Why didn't they have a probable cause? Why didn't they have a warrant? Okay? And and if we're mistaken, then give us those files, give us that information. So we put that in, and we're waiting. And then another thing, um, we have been saying that the saboteurs have stolen Richard's name. They've stolen our family's cause, Find Richard Halliday, by creating a page saying the real Find Richard Halliday. And that's a crime. And to say that they're not FBI or he's not FBI, how do they get access to records in the FBI? How do they know? Because Nadal Baim said he was FBI, okay? That he said he was with the FBI. So does he know more? Do they know more? This saboteur group? And it is interesting that with all of the crimes they've committed, they've now taken the page down. But they created a new page. So they took down all the evidence, which is documented. It's all documented. It's all screenshot. But yet they feel like they still have to try to sabotage the search for Richard. And they don't have answers. They all they have is unkindness. All they are is up to no good. And we want official documents because look, we have Leilani Hart as one of our suspects. We have many suspects. She's one of them. And we have a key witness, a prime witness to her, and the CID didn't even want to talk to him. They haven't even visited the crime scene. They haven't even addressed all the irregularities. And if this was no problem, then where is the summary on Richard's case that we've been waiting for weeks? For weeks. So, and if this is no big deal, then why did Major General Eisenhower call a meeting that lasted over 2.5 hours on a Friday afternoon when we have put in these requests? Was Richard a topic of that meeting, in that meeting? What's going on in the, is Major General Eisenhower going to follow the orders of General McConville, who committed crimes against humanity? I mean, the Nuremberg trials made it clear that following orders is not an excuse. So if you're following an order of a general that committed crimes against humanity, just for the tip of the iceberg, okay, he's really up to no good, y'all. He has betrayed our country and betrayed the world with this, the DOD were the tip of the spear with this crimes against humanity during COVID. They funded it. They funded CVS. They funded, well, that's where that money came from. It's not free. We had to pay for it. We had to pay for our own destruction. Okay, we're not totally destroyed, but it hurt us economically and psychologically. I mean, you have some, just think about the children in school. Just think of, so many examples. And yet, there are some that do not, you can tell them all of this, right? And they can't see it. They can't understand it. They're in a bubble. And it's like God doesn't, there's some kind of metaphysical force that does not allow them to see the truth. And the truth is that General McConville committed crimes against humanity. And so pray that Major General Eisenhower really, really evaluates any order that comes from McConville before he acts on it. Really pray. And I don't know who Major General Eisenhower is. I don't know if he committed crime. You know, he's just a flag officer. But these 44 four-star generals and admirals, the admirals are the ones that led this emergency intake center where tens of thousands of children are missing, unaccounted for. They are unaccounted for. What happened to them? And this is from a $1 trillion funded military. Okay? It's not like they don't get trust, they don't get resources, they don't get privileges, they don't get whatever they need to do their duty, that they're just working on some bubble gum and tape and a rubber band. That is not the case at all. We give them everything. We give them everything. And they lead an emergency intake center that has tens of thousands of children unaccounted for, right there on the border, right there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. That's very concerning. And Major General Eisenhower thinks that, well, I don't know. I don't know what he thinks. I don't want to think for him. But I'm just saying, I hope that he really discerns, really thinks things through before he follows any orders of these 44 four-star generals that are up to no good, crimes against humanity, just as the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more. I mean, it goes down to the depths where there is gnashing of teeth and crying, and yeah, it's bad. And the Nuremberg trial, the Nuremberg report absolutely declares that following orders is no excuse for your criminal deeds. You've got to have a moral backbone. You've got to do what's right. This is one nation under God, not McConville, not Mealy, not Biden, not Trump. This is one nation under God. And you swear to God to do your duty. And that's very clear that they have betrayed their duty. They have betrayed their sworn oath to God. Yeah, absolutely. And does Major General Eisenhower want to join in on that? Has he already joined in on that? Because I know that it seems that the media has joined in on that, because where is El Paso Matters? Where is Miss Korcherga reporting on all of this? Right? Where is she? I'll put up some more information about El Paso Matters, because they count themselves as neutral, and they're not. They're political attack dogs. Clearly, they are political attack dogs. I talked to Ms. Kacherga. Absolutely all signs of political attack dog. Okay. So that's fine. She can be that. She can be that, but not with the privilege of being tax exempt. Okay? That's against the law. So we need to report that and make sure that they're not tax exempt. That's El Paso. Sorry, I said Media Matter. El Paso Matters. and K-tip. Yeah. And there's others. There's others. But with them, that's where it was very concerning relationship. K-tip and El Paso Matters. So, sorry I said Media Matters, but it's El Paso Matters. Let me see if I wanted to explain that on day 3 that Richard went missing. So that would be day 26, the 26th of July. Okay, so the 26th of July, there should have been all kinds of action with other agencies. I'm talking about the Customs and Border Protectors. I'm talking about the El Paso Police Department. I'm talking about U.S. Marshals or the Texas Rangers or ATF or who was all there, the 15 plus agencies. And there should have been a reach out, a reporting to them about a missing soldier. So whatever Jay Pollan said, we don't really look for AWOL soldiers or missing soldiers, is absolutely false. There have been protocols for years and years, for decades, that they absolutely must follow. And to not get in touch with family to say, hey, have you seen Richard? He hasn't showed up, is absolutely appalling. And they, on day 3, could have done that through the El Paso police and the military police. They could have done that day 1, day 2 through the military police. Hey, I just want to let you know your son's missing. But somebody called off the search because everything was called off. The protocols were not followed at all. At all. So that means they called off the search. The protocols weren't even followed halfway or attempted to be followed or whatever. No. It was called off. Nothing was done until Rob called. That's very, very important to understand. So, why would they call off the search for Richard? And the only person that would do that would give that okay, is Major General Clem Coward. Okay, Major General Clem Coward. We need to find out if Major General Clem Coward called off the search for Richard Halliday. Probably around day 3, at the latest day 4, because nothing happened. And on day 3 and 4, lots should happen. Lots should happen. And it didn't. Why is it that Rob calls Yoshida, he's crying, he's upset, and the next work day, they are sending the fugitive apprehension unit and assault team to our house without a warrant, no probable cause, and they are putting in a yellow Interpol notice. A yellow Interpol notice. And we have been told died while missing. Died while missing. So if that's a big deal, y'all. That's a very big deal. And if it's not a big deal, why haven't they responded to our requests? What's going on there in Quantico? Where is the summary of Richard's case? That should explain everything with a signature, with a watermark. You know, that would make things somewhat believable, right? It's kind of like Leilani Hart's confession. She had it notarized. She had it notarized that her family was engaged in sexually assaulting a 7-year-old while in her home, while that child was in her master bedroom by multiple members of the family. And that Dallas Hart, as a first lieutenant, as a platoon leader, right there at Fort Bliss, was engaged in an incestuous relationship, and more, and more. And that he was connected with child pornography. Now, that is a big deal when Richard complains to the Child Protective Services, hands in sex videos, and that he complains to the CID. And the barracks are all over the barracks because of Halliday. What were all the complaints that Richard was putting in? And we've had the FOIAs, we've asked the questions, and why is it that the CID failed to tell us that Richard was a whistleblower? Why? Why did we have to find that out ourselves? And that Tavita Nusa was leaking Richard's file, and that, this is the information that we have, that Tavita Nusa was assigned to Richard because of his whistleblowing, that he was Richard's victim's advocate. Now that's very big information, and if it's not big, then where is the denial? Where is the denial for that? Where is the summary of Richard's case from Senior Special Agent Veltri, who was commissioned, who was given a mandate by Representative Nora Torres to investigate in these very violent, serious crimes in the military? Who was given funding? Who gets their paycheck paid by the work of Norma Torres in this very serious order, mandate, will for our volunteer sons and daughters? Yeah. So we notified Representative Norma Torres about what was going on, about the lack of transparency, about the lack of investigation. 15 months, nothing was done, and we have a prime witness not being ignored and then retaliated against by the prime suspect or by a suspect. I think it's and then the media. Where's Miss Korcherga? She absolutely knows about the story. I talked to her just recently on the phone. She doesn't want to say, hey, where are the answers to these autopsies? Where are the answers to all of this, these questions that this family has about their son? It's a big story. So, okay. Thank you, everyone. So I just want to wish everybody a happy Father's Day, and I will be back on tomorrow, God willing. And remember to write the letters. Write the letters, and I'll give you the information tomorrow about El Paso Matters and KTEP, about to Major General Eisenhower. I think he needs, and it's with an I-S-E-N, but if you're spell check, watch out for that, because I've seen the spell check change it to EISEN, um, but it is Major General Eisenhower with an I. Write him some letters. Write the DA, Bill Hicks, some letters about firing Richard Halliday, about this fugitive apprehension group not being able to produce a warrant. And why would they even send them anyway if it wasn't for to intimidate and to make us think that Richard was some kind of criminal. See, from the very beginning, that's what they were trying to do, to paint a picture to the community all around us and to Team Farm Richard Halliday that Richard was some kind of criminal. And they withheld the information that he wasn't a criminal, that he was a whistleblower, and that he was a whistleblower against child sex trafficking, child sex assault, child pornography, and I would even say the incest by his platoon leader, who I believe is Dallas Hart. If that wasn't a big deal, why haven't we gotten an official report? I'm not talking about something in social media. I'm talking about from the U.S. Army, right there, from 32nd ADCOM, the G3, maybe Lieutenant Colonel, I don't think he's there now, Lieutenant Colonel Bugado, he could then, say, hey, yeah, First Lieutenant Dallas Hart, who's no longer with us, he was the platoon leader, or he wasn't the platoon leader for Richard Halliday. But they won't answer us. Why? Because if he's a platoon leader, everything makes sense. Then you know why Leilani Hart got involved in all of this, why she wanted Richard's files, why they were leaked to her by Tavita Nusa, her cousin, and also who she was having an intimate relationship with. This is all, this is all documented, and, the Quantico CID is ignoring it. And I think FBI man reporting that the FBI found Richard's remains in Juarez already. This is in July, August, September of 2020. And we get reports that Richard was brutally tortured, murdered, and dismembered. And that because this is some kind of sex cult demonic group, that they, I guess they didn't want to get caught like Vanessa Guillen's remains were all in one place. So they decided to put Richard's remains in different places. I don't know. I don't know what their reasoning is behind what they did. And I think that the military, the least that they could do, if this is not serious, if this is not what this is, could write us a formal letter that I could show to the world that is signed, that has a watermark, that has a seal, that has a header, right? So that, because right now our military has been weaponized against us. And the leadership is internally weaponizing themselves against our volunteer sons and daughters. That's why the sexual assaults are up. That's why the suicides are up. That's why the murders are up. That's why we have all of these problems in the military that we didn't have before. There is something going on here. It's a systemic problem. And if it's not, why can't they send a document and sign it. Mealy, why can't Mealy sign it before he retires? Why can't McConville? These are all major criminals, and they're going to go out into our civilian world, into the defense contracting world, and then their job is going to be the war machine to send more of our sons and daughters to war so that they can profit. They're up to no good. And peace is possible, y'all. Peace is absolutely possible. But they don't want peace because peace is not profitable in the business that they're in. This is about a business plan, in my opinion. And they're using our soldiers as fodder. Now, maybe some people want that. That's what I'm saying. There's some kind of metaphysical power that doesn't allow people to want peace, to want reality. They want to stay in that matrix, right? They don't want to see if they can do something else besides be a warrior. A warrior in a different way. So I'll let y'all enjoy your Father's Day finished. And I just want to say, God bless you all. Please pass this around, share this. Also write letters to who, I'm not going to read your mind, read your heart, who you would like this to go to, but I'm going to say there has to be a letter out somewhere, somehow, continuously. We need to fight this battle, this narrative battle, this internal battle that we're having. Because, it's upon us, whether we want it or not, right? That's from Lord of the Rings. War is upon us, whether we want it or not. And this war is a different kind of war. It's a war for narratives. It's a war of business plans, of the direction of how our country is going to work and function, and for what. If it's going to be for the monopolies, if it's going to be for the war machine, if it's going to be for the health care industry or whatnot. And we need to direct our own country instead of being led by the nose, so to speak. And we can do it. We have to have confidence, and I'll tell you a little story before I leave. So, and I probably should share pictures. But in the spring, I love my garden. Right now I have strawberries and cucumbers and potatoes and tomatoes and grapes and sunflowers and bush beans. I had garlic that they're drying now. Lettuce and carrots. Those are just about done. The carrots are done now. Peas I had. It gives it's my time, right, to get out there. I have to take care of it. But this year I planted some flower seeds, and I wanted to plant some rows of flowers around my garden. And things were really crazy. Just with other family things going on and needs, and of course with Richard. And I planted them. Well, at one point, the pan that I planted the seeds in got turned over, and all of the little seedlings, uh, just in a pile of dirt, the soil. And I had to kind of scoop it up and put it back in the little pan. And then I went and got like Dixie cups, and I filled it with dirt, and I put my little seedlings, these little teeny plants, in these Dixie cups. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna try this. And I watered a little bit, and I grumbled. I did grumble. Um, and they grew, and the soil mixture that I put in the Dixie cups it wasn't the greatest. And so, I was grumbling, okay, I really just need to plant these in the ground. I'll just plant them in the ground, right? I don't want to throw them away. I'm going to try this. And I did it grumbling. I have to say, in my mind, not so much outwardly, but in my mind I was grumbling. And so I took them where I wanted to plant them, and with my little shovel, and I planted them in the ground. And now, and I watered them and I took care of them. It's kind of like the little red hen, right? But she did it with whistling and I didn't. I did it with a little bit of grumbling. And you should see my flowers. They are so beautiful. They are about shoulder high, some of them, waist high, most of them, full of beautiful flowers, um, dahlias, marigolds, all kinds, all kinds. And they are so beautiful. And I was just thinking to myself, see, even when we do the right thing, because I did the right thing, I saved them, took care of them and I planted them, but I did it grumbling. Okay. I'm going to, you know, um, but look how God blessed our family. Little Sammy told his mother, our daughter, Allison goes, Mom, Sammy told me, Mom, we need to plant more flowers. Gigi's garden has all these flowers and they are so beautiful. They're so beautiful. So even my 4-year-old grandson um, enjoys what the gift of God, these beautiful flowers that I did grumbling. And the point that I'm trying to make is God has such great things in store for us, and we can't even comprehend it. We can't even comprehend it when we want to do something um, we know is right. We do because we can't see the blessings that God has in store for us. And this is what I say to these people that are uncomfortable participants in the war machine, in the crooked healthcare industry, in the crooked banking industry, and not what all kinds of stuff, right? All kinds of stuff. What I really want to say is, look, do the right thing, because what God has in store for us is so much better. Is so we can't even imagine it. We can't even imagine His glory and the glory that He wants to give us and the gifts that He wants to give us. And right now, what we have are children being groomed into sex cults. We have them as adults performing all kinds of porn movies and child porn. Any kind of porn is child sex trafficking. I hope everyone understands that. And we have such depression because people don't even know their identity. They don't even know their identity. And so they're in depression. And then they commit suicide or try to commit suicide. Um, we have so many that are on illegal drugs or even legal drugs that are skewing every decision that they make, um, harming the relationships that they have. That's what we have with not having faith in God on the unbelievable gifts He has in store for us. And I think I wanted to tell that story because that's what I've been thinking about all week are my beautiful flowers. And, if God is going to do this just for some flowers in the field, flowers in my garden, just think what He really has intended for us. You know, flowers fade away. And, so they're just a symbol. But there are things that are permanent that He wants to give us, that He wants to bless us with. And so this is not a new lesson for me. This is a reminder lesson for me. And I had to share that huge reminder because in church today, our priest was talking about how the world, we can't be surprised that the world hates us. And I know that this week I was talking to Team Farm Richard Halliday, and they were saying how um, most moms would have just folded up by now. That's what they said. As like they're giving me a compliment. And I in my mind, how I respond to that is, um, well, I know that I've been told by John, right, in the Gospel of John. Um, I have the exact reading here, right? It's not the Gospel of. Let me see. 1 John 3:13-24. Marvel not, my brethren, if the world hate you. We know that we have passed from death into life, because we love the brethren. He that loveth not his brother abideth in death. Whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer. And ye know that no murderer hath eternal life abiding in him. Hereby perceive we the love of God, because he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brethren. But whoso hath this world's good, and seeth his brother have need, and shutteth up his bowels of compassion from him, he dwelleth the love of God in him. How dwelleth the love of God in him? My little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. And so that was a great lesson today, because the world hates us, and we can't just think, oh, really? They hate us? And trying to find truth in Richard's case, I knew that because God warned us that there would be flack coming at you when you're over the target. So the flack comes at you when you're over the target. And so I've been looking for the flack, because I know that I'm getting to the truth. And this week we've had a lot of flack. But we got to keep searching. Keep searching. Yeah, keep praying for that. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes talking riddles, because I have to be so careful because of the retaliation. But just know this: we're working behind the scenes, and we're going to get flack when we're over the truth, when we're getting close to finding what happened to Richard. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow. God